morning, Miramar, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Tamara G. Don't forget, you can check us out on all of our social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City of Miramar. That's Miramar. And with us right here in Miramar is one of South Florida's very own. She is an accomplished founder and CEO of the IC Group. She's also an author. Her book, Let Your Daddy Lift You Up. And we are so happy to have Arlene Connolly Drummond. And I've been knowing Arlene for a long time. We both are getting used to her new last name. So congratulations, first of all, on that, Arlene.
Thank you. Good morning. It's so great to be here. Yes, it's a new last name I'm getting used to, but I'm so excited about it.
That is awesome. And listen, lots of things are happening with you and for you, and that is just one of them. So yes, best wishes and congratulations with that. The IC Group, tell us about what this organization does, particularly in the South Florida community, and you're branching out as well.
Sure. So IC Group stands for Igniting the Spirit to Excel in Excellence. And it really came out of a desire to see us function and elevate to a higher level of excellence. So often we think we're operating at our best, but there's another level of excellence that we can aspire to. So IC is really come alongside our businesses, our nonprofits, our families, our community, our couples, our relationships. We come alongside to say, how can we be better? How can we elevate to a higher level of excellence? And so our mission is restoring the vision for vibrant relationships, thriving families, and stronger communities. And so we believe that when we come in partnership with anyone we're working with, we have the ability to help them realize their full potential.
Wow. Okay, so that is a lot on your plate there, Arlene, because you're talking about putting together, like you said, relationships that are fractured, families, bringing all these coalitions and different factions together. That has got to be where the social worker, I want to help, I want to put things back together again comes from, right?
It does. You know, I've spent 30 years in the nonprofit sector and in higher education. And one of the things that I've seen over the years, I've spent a lot of time working with youth and families. And what I've seen over the years is the impact of what happens when our families are broken, are fragmented, and how it impacts our children. And so when I look at IC Group, I think about how do we strengthen the adults who are leading the family unit? How do we come alongside and support parents so that they can show up and be the best version of themselves for their children and for their family? And then how do we strengthen the family unit so that it's a safe place for children to learn, grow, and thrive? Because that's what young people have told me in all my years. They said, Ms. Arlene, my greatest struggle is at home. And that shouldn't be. Home is supposed to be our safe space, but that's the place that they're struggling the most. And when they're lacking that solid foundation, they step out in the world fragile, and the world can chew them up
and spit them out every day.
Exactly.
What is it that you're finding is the biggest fracture for the family today? Is it the single parent households, whether it's, men raising kids or women raising kids, or is it the fact, or divorce, single meaning there wasn't ever a parent there in the first place, or divorced parents have, the kids are having to go through that and having to, make choices that they didn't really want to make.
Mm-hmm. The biggest fracture that I see is the absence of fathers.
Regardless of how it comes about.
No matter how it comes about, no matter where the relationship landed, the fact is that it took two to consummate and produce this child. There is a balance and a duality that comes from both a mom and a dad. And so many of our children are growing up out of balance. They're growing up searching for dad because dad is not present. they're torn or pulled apart between the toxic relationship between mom and dad, who have not learned how to positively co-parent. They are dealing with trying to figure out who they are, because they're getting so many mixed messages. And we know that the family is the space where we get our grounding. It's where our values, our standards, our beliefs are formed. And when, I always tell people, as single moms, I applaud our single mom. I've been a single mom. And I always say I parented while I was single, but I was never really a single mother, because there were so many people who came alongside and supported that. But also I had a great supportive, my daughter's father was always present, because I was very intentional, and we were very intentional about making sure that we created an environment where we communicated, and she never felt the absence of her dad. And that was
Now, wait a
really
minute,
important.
Arlene, wait a minute. I got to break you up right here. Now you're talking about two adults
Yes,
acting like adults. We
yes.
don't have a lot of that in this society.
And it's possible. And when I share the scenario, people look at me like, how did y'all do that? He's married. I just got married, but I've spent most of my life not married. But we have been very intentional. So he showed up to everything, and we talked about what it means to parent, and we co-disciplined, and so I've walked it, and I
Mhm.
know that it's possible. Was it easy? No.
Right.
Did it
Right.
have its struggles and its challenges? Yes. But because we made that commitment, we worked through it. And did that mean everything was perfect? And no. But it means that we tried our best to create an environment in which our daughter knew. She knew her value, she knew her worth, she knew what we stood for, and we created an environment that supported that. She knew our expectations, and we helped groom her towards that. And so often, I say to our single moms, mothers who are raising children technically alone, is that we're tired. It's exhausting, because we need help, we need that support. And when dads can step in and be that additional support and be a positive influence. So that's a whole nother thing, that you want to make sure you have men who are in the relationship with their children that are positively impacting their children. And the way that we can do that is to ensure that we empower, equip, train, develop, and prepare our boys who are going into men, and our men who are going to become fathers. And so that's what drives part of my work at IC Group, is because we can, I know I have a lot of my girlfriends, we can talk about how our men are not there, how they fall short in how they show up. We can talk about it all day. But at the end of the day, what are we going to do about it? And so what we can do about it is we can come alongside and help coach, train, teach, create the environment in which they get the experiences and the exposure that equips them to show up and be the men we're hoping and expecting them to be. But we can't do it by wishing. And our society has it in a way that, and especially in the Black community, where our men are struggling because we have experienced centuries of institutional racism. And so our men, they're not out of alignment just because they chose not to be.
Oh, wow. Say it again. Say it again,
They're not out of
Arlene, for the
alignment
people in the
because,
back.
listen,
Right.
they're not out of alignment because they just chose. Now, of course, there are some people who make poor choices, but so many things happen in the development from a boy into manhood. So many missteps that if we can come and reposition and restructure and insulate the development of our males into manhood and into fatherhood, they show up stronger. When I speak to fathers, they want to be there for their kids. They want to be there, but what they don't want to deal with the drama.
I
They don't
was
want to
just about to say, but what keeps them not being there is the drama with the mom. It's like, look, our relationship is over, regardless of how it is. we now have a child that we have to raise together. And I feel like, and I'm always on the outside looking in. I don't have children, but I have plenty of girlfriends who do. And I know why, Junior doesn't want to come and pick up little Charlie. It's because you are always yelling at him and screaming at him and wanting him to do this or whatever, but it's really your issue, not, and trust me, I tell my girlfriends. So they don't want me to know about it, because I will tell them, well, stop acting like that. If he wants to come and pick him up at 5 o'clock, then you be available at 5 o'clock for him to come and pick him up. What's the problem?
Exactly. And the sad thing, Tamara, is that our children suffer. Our children suffer because we as adults haven't dealt with our issues. And, I do a lot of parenting workshops, and I try my best to, I'm not judging us as parents, but what I can say to us as parents, and I tell them I'm right here with you, is that we can do this better and we can do this different. And the issues we fail to address as ourselves, as our individual, we bring into our parenting relationship.
You're upset because he's picking up Junior and he brought his new girlfriend along. What does that matter? Now
because I'm still hurt.
Right. Well, now she can help buy the ice cream and the tickets to the movies. I mean, what is the problem? I don't understand it. But if you're just tuning in, we are speaking with Arlene Connolly Drummond. She is the founder and CEO of IC Group, that stands for Igniting the Spirit to Excel in Excellence. She also is the author of Let Your Daddy Lift You Up. We're going to be talking about the book in just a minute, but I know that you wanted to finish talking about that, Arlene, as far as, again, adults who have not dealt with their issues, that's now projecting onto their children and creating problems with the relationships that their children have, not just with their other parent, but even with other kids, other adults, teachers, everybody.
Exactly. And so I often share with parents, I said, so when we fail to address our issues, it shows up in how we parent. And I can give them an example, and it can take us into talking about daddy, let your daddy lift you up. So I grew up without my dad, right? I grew up without my dad, and I grew up in very toxic, unhealthy environments. I know what abuse felt like because I experienced it on multiple levels. And I can remember very strongly growing up and not being deprived of food. And that really impacted me. And my deprivation of food translated when I had my daughter, I was very intentional to make sure she never felt what it felt like to not have food, right? So I always made sure, even if I left her to go, to the babysitter or whatever, she had packaged food. I made sure she had everything. And I didn't give her any parameters around the fridge because I knew what it felt like when I ever went to the fridge, how people made me feel like I was a burden, I was an extra mouth to feed, I was a problem. And so I didn't want that to be her experience. So I didn't give her the fridge carte blanche, you can go. My daughter struggles with her weight because that was my issue. Mm-hmm. And I try to help parents understand, I'm not just casting, I'm telling you real. And so when we fail to address our emotional pain, it shows up, and our kids are the ones who are challenged. And so we can help change that. The more we show up for ourselves, the more we seek, whether it's counseling or peer groups. I often tell parents, there was a thing where we used to have like a solid support system. And many parents today, we stay isolated. We don't want no one to know what we're dealing with, what we're struggling with, because we want to come across like we are superhero or whatever. But I didn't raise my daughter alone. And I'm thankful for the village of people who came alongside and helped me raise her. And she's a phenomenal young lady. But I did that as a collective, as a community. And so I really want to help us get back to that place of community. Mm-hmm. Where we can see how we support each other to ensure that we grow. That's the thriving families. That's the strong communities.
And you do that through groups. support groups and different ways that people can get together and obviously, talk about what is going on in the dynamic of their family or with
Absolutely.
themselves.
Absolutely. So I do couples and family coaching, and then I work heavily with nonprofit organizations. I do consulting with nonprofit organizations because they are the entities on the ground really tackling a lot of the issues that are happening in community. And so I really like to help nonprofits become stronger, really help strengthen their infrastructure and their capacity to serve with the highest level of excellence. And so I coach the CEOs, I coach the executive team, I work on the strategic plan, we review mission and we plan, strategy, and we look at how we can develop and tighten and strengthen programs so that they're delivering on the promise to make sure that our community gets the best, right? Because so often we say we want to serve, but we come up mediocre. And so I try to come alongside them to help them keep their standard of excellence that they want to provide to the community. And I get to do that. It's exciting.
Awesome. And so you also get to talk about your new book that you've written called Let Your Daddy Lift You Up. Tell us, where did this book come from, and a little bit about it.
Sure. So this book came from me pausing to do what I often tell my families and my parents to do. I went to my sacred place, which is, you live in South Florida. I am a beach bum. Find me at the beach whenever I can. I'm there at the crack of dawn to watch the sunrise. It gives me it really refocuses me and centers me. And so I'm there at the beach and, I lay my blanket and I just lay back and I'm looking up at the sky, and all I heard in my spirit was, let your daddy lift you up. And I'm like, And then I heard it again, let your daddy lift you up. And so I always have my journal. So I journal, I wrote it down. And then right there in that space, I heard, let your daddy lift you up. That when your daddy lifts you up, you get to elevate to a higher place. You get to see beyond the obstacles that are in front of you. You get to see further than you could see before. And there's a joy and an excitement when you look at a child who's resting on daddy's shoulders, that there's just a joy and excitement. And I was speaking about that and writing it in my journal and realized, but I never had that experience. I never knew what it was like to sit on daddy's shoulders. And so I began to work on unpacking that. Well, what does that mean? And so when the book is Let Your Daddy Lift You Up, healing daddy issues to build healthy relationships. And Tamara, I believe that the work that I did in unpacking in this book is probably a great part of what got me to the place that I can receive the love of a husband.
Wow.
Because I got to work through some of my daddy issues. And so I wasn't, a lot of times women, we don't even realize we're looking for the man who's supposed to be our mate, but we're looking for them to be daddy.
So did you know your father at all? Have you met your father?
So, yeah. Oh man, I'm giving away part of the book. Yes, I did. I did get to meet my dad.
Okay.
I actually took a trip to Trinidad to meet my dad. And that was an interesting experience. But I'm
okay,
glad
they'll have to read the rest of the book.
you'd have to read the book. But it allowed me to be open to confront what I needed to. So often we are fantasizing the role we think daddy should have played because he wasn't physically there. And what I realized was my dad couldn't be what I was looking for. He didn't have the capacity. But what did that do for me to learn and unpack that? It meant that I could release my anger, my disappointment, the pain that I was carrying, even subconsciously, and then was transferring on to others in my relationships because I'm looking for the daddy void. And there's this whole thing about there's a daddy void. There's a daddy void so much in our communities. And what happens with that void is we are left so vulnerable, Tamara. Because the absence of my dad, I connected that absence to all the pain, the abuse that I experienced. I said, because you weren't there to protect me, Daddy, where were you? Where were you? I was left unprotected. And because I was left unprotected, people were able to abuse me. People were able to mistreat me. And so I was carrying that blame of, where were you?
Right.
And so when you think about our community, there's a lot of we have a lot of brokenness because of the toxicity in relationships and the void that is present. But we're such a resilient people. We have so much capacity to grow from it, but we got to confront it.
And I love the fact that you said that when it came to you, the higher voice came, you immediately pulled out your journal and started writing. So how long have you been journaling, and how has that helped you get over the daddy issues, as well as work through anything else that you may have to?
So I've been journaling, I would say more so in college. I felt safer in my college days documenting things. I was always good at making notes but my thoughts weren't safe in my earlier years. And that's one of the things that I often tell parents too. If we're going to ask our kids to write or to express themselves to us, they got to feel safe to be able to do that.
And you can't get mad if you read something.
No, or they
upsetting,
tell you
okay?
something. There's stuff my daughter would tell me because we created this open communication. I didn't want to hear it, but I knew how to help process it so that she felt open enough to be able to speak to me. So, I give the example, I say, when a child comes to us and they say, oh, I like that boy, he's cute. And, I really want to talk to him. Many parents, especially I'm from the islands, most of my island parents are like, you don't need to be talking to no boys. You need to be in your books, right? What you know about love, and we start beating them up. But it's such a great opportunity to say, really, tell me more about him. What is it that you like about him? Tell me about his friends. Tell me about his circle. So what is he into? And you begin to help that child process what is attracting her to this individual? Mm-hmm. What are the qualities that he may have or not have? You're now able to draw in conversation. So now tomorrow when she says, well, I saw him today, and now you can be part of that conversation. So, and how did he treat you? Is he treating you with respect? Do you know what that feels like? You have a whole opportunity to draw in a whole nother conversation and create these teachable moments, but we miss it.
Instead of shutting it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So my Let Your Daddy Lift You Up and my journaling was really in my college years. It's where I found my voice, Tamara. Through my college years, I found my voice. And I found my voice because I spent time learning about our history. And I got to learn more about who I am. And that learning about our history and our culture allowed me to sit up a little taller. My voice got stronger because I finally learned that we come from a great people, that there's the resilient spirit in us, that there's a fight, and we overcome so much. And that knowledge of self allowed this quiet, shy girl who you would not hear her voice above a whisper to lead marches and sit in and boycott the president's office. And
you, Arlene, are boycotting? Wow.
Boycott homecoming and rally because it was during the apartheid era, and rally and protest to end divest and all of this stuff. I was able to do that because I found voice. And so one of the things that I share in Let Your Daddy Lift You Up is the importance of us. I realized in really unpacking this book, how much my Heavenly Father was present in my life, even when I thought that I was alone. I
And we
realized
always
how
find that out. We always find that out. You know, you
that
do.
daddy was there.
Yeah, yeah, and that he was there, and that he was actually carrying you then, because otherwise you wouldn't have made it through. So,
Exactly. And I knew now to give him the credit. I recognize all the people that were placed in my life along my journey. And I was able to see that I not only was I not alone, but that there were those people who carried me. There were people who supported me. And so many things along my journey has allowed me to be who I am today. So I embrace it all. I embrace, not that I not hurt by it or whatever, but I can look at the trauma of abuse in my life and I can unpack it in different spaces because I know that all of that is the sum total of who I am. And so I'm able to show up for my young people. I'm able to show up for families and individuals because I've walked it.
and I
And
was just about to say, Arlene, I think that's very important because a lot of people who are in therapy or in counseling, you know, they always say, well, why am I going to talk to this person? They don't know, or they've never been through this. And everybody has a story. You don't know what people have gone through. You don't know how they've gotten over. And therefore, you know, just even being able to come and speak to someone about what is bothering you is usually a big step for people. That's the first big step. And then talking with someone like you who has been through it, you can give that perspective.
absolutely. And I open that door to help people get to the next place of getting real therapy. Because in our community, it's a struggle for us to get help because we are taught to be superwoman or superman, you know, and we're not supposed to share that inner pain and what has happened in the home and things of that nature. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to help individuals get to that place where they are unpacking and they can get to the place and I can guide them to the place where they can get an therapy because I'm not a therapist. I do relationship and family coaching. So I can help you begin to see, well, where is your aspired vision that you have for your family or for your relationship? And well, what will it take for you to realize that? And we can help begin to work on a plan and a strategy. But on that path, on working on the plan and the strategy, you realize that you got some real deep work that is required for you to do. And that's where we're able to guide individuals to say, well, let's connect you now to some therapy. Now they feel comfortable in that space of being able to talk with someone and seeing the value in it. And now I can guide them and say, well, we need to unpack this a little more. You know, my daughter would say, Mom, you need to sit on several couches because, because
I've heard that too.
when she hears my story and I'm been able to be really transparent with her, even about how my issues impact her weight, I was able to share that with her. But when you look at what we've gone through as a people, that legacy of trauma that we've experienced, in my book, I talk about ACEs, right? The adverse childhood experiences. And there's so much work being done around that now, where it's really looking at, instead of us judging people, we're asking the question, what happened to you? You know, and when we begin to unpack what has happened to us, we've been walking around with a historical trauma and trauma upon trauma. And, you know, I shared with a family the other day, I was saying, you know, no one got me counseling after my mom passed at 10 years old. And then no one got me counseling after my grandmother was mugged and shot in the head and killed at 11. You know what I mean? It was just move on and do. And we do that in our communities. But we don't realize all of that shows up in how we are present. And so Let Your Daddy Lift You Up is a great book. I'm excited that it allowed me to confront and really look at my earthly father and then also look at my heavenly father, because I'm very spiritual, grounded in my faith individual, but it helped me even have a deeper walk because I realized that the presence of God in my life, that he was there. And so that the anger that I had for like, well, why did you take my mom? And why did you make this happen? And why did you make that happen? I was able to turn that anger around to begin to see, oh, you were there because I'm still here.
Right.
I'm still
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely.
And I still have joy and I still have peace and I still have light and I can help people. So yeah.
And it's the path that you were supposed to take. Everybody has their own path, and it's the path that you were supposed to take. Where can people find Let Your Daddy Lift You Up?
So it's so exciting, Tamara. So Let Your Daddy Lift You Up, Healing Daddy Issues to Build Healthy Relationships is available at Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Target, Amazon.
Awesome. You're in all the major retailers.
So I'm really excited. This book, even in the picture, you have that little hand reaching up, look, and we're looking for that daddy to help and support us. And I really want to see how we can elevate that back in our community. And so, one of the initiatives I'm doing, Tamara, is called Reclaiming the Fathers.
Okay.
And reclaiming the fathers back into the community, back into the family, and back into relationship. And our men has been pushed out of the family, but we need to pull them back in. And we need to equip them so that they can be positive role models in their children's lives. And so this is just the one book in a series of other books
Okay.
that is coming.
Well, I can't wait. And tell us more about the Reclaiming the Fathers. How can people get more information or to get involved if you are having any seminars or, if you come out and speak to people's groups? Tell us how people can get in touch with you.
So, I get to do so many different things. So one of the things that I did is I really believe in collaboration and partnership. So one of the organizations that I really believe is a great force in our community is the Children's Services Council. Mm-hmm. And so they have a series of committees that collaborate and do great work. And so what I did is I approached them and I said, I see all this great stuff we're doing, but what's happening with dads? What's happening with fathers? What's happening with our boys? And so I was able to form a committee, and it's the Fathers, Men, and Boys Action Committee. Okay. And I have in that committee, I was able to collaborate with a group of different organizations who are doing work with dads or with boys, and they're doing work in the community. And so now we come together and we were able to put on a conference where we talked about what's happening with boys, men, and fathers, and really begin to pour in and address some of the things that are going on. So everything that I do, I try to build connections, build community. So you can find the Reclaiming the Father initiative. It's woven into my everyday. It's my fabric of my being. So it is when I put on a workshop or a conference or an event. I really believe in putting on experiences that can help individuals really connect with the message. And so I do an event where I honor dads, because I really believe we should honor and celebrate fathers. We shouldn't just spend time talking about where they're not, but lift up the image of those fathers who are doing it and doing it well, and show the fathers who are struggling that example, and show them that there are people that's just like them with their own struggles and their own challenges, but they're showing up and being there for their children. So we do that. And then I do a thing where I'm reclaiming Sunday dinner. So I have
Nice.
Sunday dinner events where I'm really helping to get the families together back around the table. So it's not just it's everything. It's
not just one thing. It's all interwoven together. And so they can find this information out on your website, obviously.
It is. So you can visit our website, IC Group MiramarFL.gov, or we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. So we're on any of the social media platforms. You can look us up, ISEE Group LLC.com, and find out more about the great things that we're doing. You can visit even the Children's Services Council, see the various committees, look up the Fathers, Men, and Boys Action Committee and see the work that's happening there. You know, I can only be who I am. And who I am is I'm an advocate for our children. And in order to be an advocate for our children, the Lord told me I had to work with families. I had to work with parents, and I had to support them and equip them so that they can be the best version of themselves for their kids. And so I get to do that because someone took a minute for me, Tamara. In all my dysfunction and all the things that went on, there were people who stepped in and was there for me. And so I get to do that for our children so that we don't count them out. I get to do that for our fathers so we don't count them out. I get to do that for our parents so that they feel stronger. They find their leadership posture again in the home. That's one of the things I'm very passionate about. As a John Maxwell speaker, trainer, and coach, I really teach a lot about leadership. And there's a leadership void in our family. And I like to help parents find their leadership voice again. And it doesn't mean that we are toppling the heads of our children. It means that there's a posture of leadership that I knew that my mom could look at me and I straighten up.
Oh, my mom too, even at this day and age, she does that. So if you want more information, please get in touch with Arlene Connolly Drummond. You can see her at icgroupllc.com if you would like to hire her to come and speak to your group or to collaborate with her. As she said, she loves collaborations, loves working with other nonprofits to definitely work on the family unit. And you can also buy the book everywhere books are sold, it seems. She said Walmart, Target, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of your major book retailers. Let Your Daddy Lift You Up, Healing Daddy Issues. And we are so happy that you have written this book. It is for everyone, not just for any particular group or color. It is for everybody who possibly has this issue and would love to get it resolved. So thank you so much, Arlene Connolly Drummond, founder and CEO of IC Group, as well as the author of Let Your Daddy Lift You Up. Certainly appreciate you being with us here on Good Morning Miramar, and we will see you again very soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm just excited about all that we get to do in this awesome community called South Florida.
Thank you very much. And thank you for watching Good Morning Miramar. Until next time, I'm Tamara G. See you.